See the power of human connection unfold as a community embraces a refugee family, reminding us that kindness can bloom even in the face of hardship. A single overhead light swings above the folding table in the basement of St. Luke's Lutheran Church, Del Rapids, South Dakota. The bulb flickers once, twice. Under its nervous glow, 8-year-old Layla Azizi lifts a red crayon, presses it so hard that the wax snaps, and then, without warning, writes the word home in crooked letters across the cardboard box that holds everything her family still owns. In the silence that follows, her mother, Marjan, gasps, not because the box is ruined, but because Layla has never written an English word before tonight. What would you have done in that moment when a child turns a moving box into a love letter to a place she may never see again? Marjan's eyes shine with tears, but she doesn't scold. Instead, she kneels, touches the fresh red letters, and whispers in Dari, "Beautiful." Behind them, her husband, Farid, lets out a breath he seems to have held since Kabul fell. His right hand still trembles from the memory of airport tarmac and tear gas. The church basement smells of coffee grounds and old hymnals. The radiator knocks like distant shelling. But tonight, it is warm, and strangers have given them blankets the color of cornflowers. Farid tries to smile, but the corners of his mouth quiver. He remembers the night they left, the gate guard who winked, the interpreter who promised 5 minutes more, the baby carrier that kept slipping off Marjan's shoulder while Layla clutched her stuffed goat, Pari. They left behind a pharmacy Farid ran for 15 years, shelves lined with pink cough syrup and green antibiotics, neighbors who called him doctor even though he wasn't one. They left behind Marjan's rooftop garden mint, tomatoes, and a single stubborn rose that always bloomed too early. Now in Del Rapids, population 3,687, the Azizis know no one. The wind across the prairie is colder than any mountain breeze they remember. English feels like pebbles in their mouths. Farid's pharmacy degree is paper. Marjan's teaching certificate is paper. Layla's laughter is paper thin. Monday morning, Farid walks the 3 miles to the only pharmacy in town, Thrifty White Drug, hoping to ask for work. He rehearses the sentence all night. "I am pharmacist. 10 years experience. Can I please stock shelves?" But when he reaches the automatic doors, his courage leaks out like air from a punctured tire. He circles the block 6 times before a woman in a Vikings cap steps outside to empty trash. She looks up, startles at his hollow eyes, and says, "Morning. You okay, hon?" Farid swallows. "I need job." Inside, the manager, Dale Lundquist, 62, retired Navy, listens while Farid's hands shake over a photocopied resume in English he can barely read himself. Dale sees the gold seal from Kabul University, the neat Arabic script, the dates. He doesn't understand a word, but he understands desperation. He once stood on a pier in Norfolk, waiting for a ship that came back half empty. Dale exhales. "I can't hire you as pharmacist without license, son. But I can start you stocking shelves 3 mornings a week. Minimum wage. If you show up on time, we'll talk." Farid's knees almost fold. "Thank you," he whispers, and the words taste like new snow. Across town, Marjan walks Layla to Del Rapids Elementary. The crossing guard, Ruby Pedersen, 71, whistles "You Are My Sunshine" between gum chews. Ruby notices Layla's mismatched mittens, one pink, one blue, and kneels. "Cold hands, warm heart," she says, pressing a pair of spare fleece gloves into Layla's palms. Layla looks up at Marjan, uncertain. Marjan nods. Layla slips them on, fingers lost in wool like birds in clouds. Inside the school office, the secretary, Mrs. Healy, hands Marjan a form. "We need a parent signature for ESL testing." Marjan stares at the maze of boxes. She signs with a careful looping M that looks like mountain peaks. Mrs. Healy smiles. "Welcome." But lunchtime becomes a cliff. Layla sits alone, hummus sandwich untouched. A boy across the table eyes her purple lunchbox with cartoon princesses. "That's a baby box," he smirks. Layla's cheeks burn. She opens her mouth to answer, but English fails her. Instead, she pulls out Pari the goat and hugs it tight, as if softness could muffle cruelty. That afternoon, Ruby Pedersen doesn't go home. She drives her old Buick to the VFW hall where the Tuesday Ladies Quilting Circle meets. She lays Layla's lone blue mitten on the table like evidence. "We've got a family that needs more than gloves," she says. By supper time, a text chain originally meant for church potluck reminders sparks to life. Janet, librarian. "I can tutor English after story hour." Pastor Liz, "There's a basement room free Wednesdays." Bill, high school custodian. "I've got bikes the lost and found never claimed, 2 kid sizes." Common bilingual nurse from El Salvador who married into town 20 years ago. "I'll translate at the clinic if they need shots." No one asks what paperwork the Azizis have. No one mentions politics. They simply move, the way cornfields bend together under the same wind. Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. The church basement smells of fresh coffee and lemon bars. 5 folding tables form a horseshoe. Layla colors with Janet's gel pens. The tips glide like tiny kites. Marjan sits with Carmen, learning how to say, "My daughter has a sore throat." Fareed practices prices aloud. $4.99! No! Buy one, get one half. Each syllable lands like a coin in a wishing well. Between lessons, Janet pulls out a children's book, The Day You Begin by Jacqueline Woodson, and hands it to Layla. Layla traces the cover illustration. A girl standing at a classroom door. She turns to page 1, and Janet reads softly. Halfway through, Layla surprises everyone by finishing the sentence aloud in careful English. "And all at once." Everyone claps. Layla ducks her head, but her grin blooms like Marjan's stubborn rooftop rose. Saturday dawns silver. Dale Lundquist shows up at the Azizi's small rental house on Pine Street with a snowblower. Fareed, in borrowed boots, tries to object. Dale shakes his head. "My wife says I shovel like a drunk giraffe. Consider this community service." They clear the driveway together, breath fogging in clouds. Halfway through, Dale's phone rings his daughter. FaceTiming from Texas. Dale flips the camera. "Meet Fareed, newest member of the thrifty white family." The daughter waves. Fareed waves back, gloved hand stiff, but willing. Inside, Marjan slices apples for the volunteers who will arrive at noon. She hums an old Afghan lullaby. Layla sets the table with mismatched plates donated by Ruby's Quilting Circle. When Carmen walks in with a box of winter coats, Marjan's eyes fill. "Shukriya," she whispers. Carmen answers, "Donada, we're neighbors." The word neighbors feels suddenly enormous, like prairie sky. The twist arrives quietly. One evening, Fareed stays late to lock up the pharmacy. Dale is balancing the till when a teenage boy bursts in, hoodie soaked, panic bright in his eyes. "My little sister, she can't breathe!" Dale grabs an inhaler from behind the counter, but the boy's hands shake too hard to use it. Fareed steps forward, instinct overriding fear. He kneels, demonstrates the spacer, counts softly in Darayak Dusay, then in English, 1, 2, 3. The girl's wheeze eases. Sirens wail closer. EMTs take over. Dale watches Fareed like he's seeing him for the first time. Next morning, Dale calls the State Board of Pharmacy. "I've got a man here who saved a kid's life with an inhaler and a language nobody teaches in nursing school. There's got to be a bridge for folks like him." The woman on the line hesitates, then mentions a provisional licensing pathway for refugee professionals. New pilot program. Paperwork labyrinthine, but possible. Dale prints the forms, hands them to Fareed like a golden ticket. "Your English is getting stronger every day. Let's walk this road together." Winter softens into spring. Crocuses push through the frost-heaved soil outside the Azizi's porch. Layla rides one of Bill's reclaimed bikes, streamers fluttering. At school, she reads aloud during assembly Jacqueline Woodson's words, now hers. The boy who mocked her lunchbox claps the loudest. After class, he shyly offers her half his Rice Krispies treat. Marjan, wearing a volunteer badge from the public library, leads a bilingual story hour. Toddlers pile onto her lap like puppies. She tells them about a rose that bloomed too early, and they giggle at the Farsi word for flower. Gol. Fareed studies at night under a lamp that once belonged to Dale's father. The glow pools over pages of pharmacology notes. Sometimes Dale quizzes him over speakerphone while feeding his grandbaby applesauce. One April evening, the quilting circle hosts an outdoor potluck. Picnic tables sag under ham balls, scalloped potatoes, fresh non-margin learned to bake in Janet's kitchen. Ruby presents Layla with a quilt stitched from squares of fabric donated by half the town. A Vikings jersey, a feed store sack, an old choir robe, and at the very center, a piece of Margin's red shawl that survived the journey sewn beside a blue mitten. Layla runs her fingers across the patchwork and whispers, "It's us." Pastor Liz raises a glass of rhubarb punch. To new roots growing deep, glasses clink. Fireflies blink on like tiny blessings. But the story isn't finished until the envelope arrives in May, thick cream paper, state seal embossed like frost. Farid's hands tremble worse than the night they fled. Marjan steadies him. Layla stands on a chair to watch. Inside, provisional pharmacist license. Valid pending exam in Sioux Falls. Farid reads it twice, then presses it to his heart, as if listening for a heartbeat. The night before the exam, the quilting circle gathers again, this time in silence. No lemon bars, no punch. They form a circle around the Azizis, hands linked. Dale clears his throat. "We may not speak the same languages, but we speak the same hope." They pray some to Jesus, some to Allah, some to whatever listens between cornrows. Layla squeezes Pari the goat inside her backpack, as if softness could travel. Sioux Falls. Exam room 4B. Farid's pencil moves like a small boat across a calm lake. When he walks out 3 hours later, the sky above the parking lot is postcard blue. Dale waits, leaning against the Buick. Farid's face is unreadable until he lifts both arms like a referee signaling touchdown. Dale whoops so loud a flock of pigeons erupts from the courthouse roof. Back in Del Rapids, the pharmacy window displays a handmade sign. "Welcome, Pharmacist Farid Azizi. Customers stream in for free blood pressure checks and shy congratulations." Layla stands beside her father in a miniature white coat. Janet sewed from an old lab coat, handing out stickers. Margin snaps a photo with Ruby's flip phone grainy. Perfect. That evening, the family walks the bike path along the Big Sioux River. Cottonwood seeds drift like summer snow. Farid carries Layla on his shoulders. Her laughter rings off the water. Margin slips her arm through his. She thinks of the rooftop rose, wonders if it still blooms for strangers. She decides it doesn't matter. They have planted new roses here, thorns and all, and the town is their trellis. The camera lingers on the Azizi's porch light, glowing soft amber. Inside, the quilt hangs on the living room wall center square, catching lamplight like stained glass. Farid practices signing his full name, loops and crosses, steady now. Margin records Layla reading an entire picture book aloud, her accent a gentle lilt that tastes of mountains and